Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. This is the first session in a three-part series designed to help you become more proficient in navigating library databases, and more importantly, to support your students in developing stronger research strategies for the junior paper. This session will be recorded, along with all the others, so if you'd like to revisit anything we covered today, the full workshop and all materials will be available online. Workshop 1, Introduction to Keyword Searches. Before we get into it though, let's talk about the learning objectives for this professional development workshop. Give it a sample junior paper topic and access to the school's library databases. Teachers will be able to develop Teachers will be able to construct effective search queries using keywords and Boolean operators to retrieve at least one relevant academic source. Additionally, teachers will be able to model these search strategies through practical demonstrations using topics and subjects similar to those found in the junior paper. Finally, teachers will be able to develop a structured lesson for their students, demonstrating the highlighted search strategies and addressing common concerns and difficulties with database searching. Let's have a look at the agenda. The topic, of course, being teaching effective database search strategies to support student research for the junior paper, and the audience being you, 11th grade teachers. Today's objectives are to learn to extract keywords from a research topic, learn to supplement those keywords using synonyms and related terms. If you look on the right, you'll have the schedule. Start with an introduction to the workshop, then the pre-workshop discussion, an introduction to keywords, utilizing related terms, another discussion and reflection, and finally a conclusion, and you'll have a chance to ask me any additional questions you might have. Now let's get into why we're having this workshop in the first place, which is the problem with the junior paper. As you all know, every year, 11th graders at Greendale High must submit an extensive research paper on a current social, political, or otherwise pressing societal issue of their choosing. Now, you'd think after turning in their ACTs and SATs and their college applications, they'd finally get a break. But you'd be wrong, because this paper makes up a substantial portion of the students' final grades, and as a result, is a common stress point for students and educators alike. While students often put their focus on writing, one of the biggest challenges they face is finding relevant and academically appropriate sources to support their ideas. In the last few years, especially, the papers have come with some terrible sources. They're using AI, they're making things up, they're using Google and Wikipedia only. And this not only affects paper quality, but places increased strain on teachers who must troubleshoot and guide students through the research process. I know some of you have probably had to hold a lot of extra sessions after class to help students find sources, figure out what's going on, how to use the library, how to access it. There's a lot of problems with this junior paper. So before we get into anything though, let's start with the discussion. As part of the pre-workshop exercise, you were asked to retrieve one relevant, academically appropriate source related to the topic above, the effects of social media on the mental health of adolescents. You were also asked to reflect on any challenges you've encountered, as well as potential difficulties students might face when approaching a similar task. Please break into groups of three and take about 10 to 15 minutes to discuss your responses. Consider the following questions. What did you type into the database when conducting your search? Were you satisfied with the research results? Were they too broad, too narrow, or otherwise not relevant? And what keywords or terms would you change if you were to try again? So like I said, take about 10-15 minutes and we'll come back together after that. Wow, I heard a lot of great ideas just now. You guys were really thinking a lot of smart stuff. So here were some common challenges and issues that I heard. One was that the results were too broad. Another was that they were too narrow. And finally, a lot of you reported irrelevant search results. Well, the thing is, in many cases, this comes down to one key issues, keywords. If the keywords being used during your search aren't effective, the results won't be either. But what are keywords? Keywords are the building blocks of an effective database search. They're used to represent the key ideas and concepts found within a topic. Many database search engines utilize keyword search, which retrieves results containing instances of the keyword within the text, but we'll get more into that later. As a result, it's more effective to search using strong, relevant keywords rather than full sentences or phrases. Many students rely on phrases in natural language search, which can limit or confuse search results. And I'm talking about maybe like going into Google and typing, my head hurts, what's wrong? While that might work for something like Google, it won't work as well for a library database. So let's take a look at keywords in action. Here we have the topic again, the effects of social media on the mental health of adolescents. How can we break this topic down into keywords? First, we need to get rid of unnecessary stop words, such as the, of, on, is, and, or, etc. The effects of social media on the mental health of adolescents, and we see here we've highlighted the, of, on, the, and of because they're stop words. They're kind of just ignored and filtered out by the search engine. So let's just get rid of them altogether. And by removing stop words, we're left with only the core terms related to the research topic. In this case, we have effects, social media, mental health, and adolescence. But additionally, you can also remove vague or non-descriptive words, such as effects, to further refine your search. In this case, effects isn't really helping us. It's not describing anything related to the research topic, right? So we can just get rid of it. Now let's talk about the challenges with keywords. As discussed earlier, most databases rely on keyword searching, meaning that they return results that contain the exact words or phrases you enter. Consider the following academic article: How platforms like Facebook and Instagram affect the psychological wellness of teens. This article appears to be both relevant and academically appropriate. However, there is one problem. It does not contain the exact terms social media, adolescence, or mental health, the ones we pointed out earlier. As a result, if you were to conduct a keyword search using only the previously chosen keywords, this article may not appear in the search results. That's because of the words being used, like platforms, Facebook, Instagram, psychological wellness, teens. Even though they mean the same thing as the keywords we use, they're not exactly the same. So to get around that and to address that issue, we need to make use of related terms and synonyms. Different authors may use different terms to describe the same idea. So as researchers, we need to widen our search. For example, let's widen our search by identifying synonyms and terms related to social media. Here's a few: social network, social platform, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, X, etc. Now let's repeat the process for the other search terms. For adolescents, we can use teens, teenagers, youth, middle school students, high school students. And for mental health, we can use mental wellness, mental well-being, psychological health, emotional health, etc., etc. And now let's put it all together. Refer back to the original topic, the effects of social media on the mental health of adolescents. First, remove unnecessary stop words as well as terms that are vague and non-descriptive. That leaves us with just social media, mental health, and adolescence. Finally, identify related terms and synonyms to widen the search net. And here on the bottom, we have all the words we came up with before. Now it's your turn. Here you see I put up a topic. I want you guys to just go around the room and shout out any keywords you think of, any related terms. We'll just go around until everyone has said one. Wow, I didn't realize I was in a room full of geniuses. You guys really came up with some amazing keywords and related terms. Here, we've identified the main keywords after removing the stop words were gun control, laws, and public safety. You guys came up with the words firearms and weapons for guns, regulations and policies for laws, and community safety, crime rates, and violent crime for public safety. Let's repeat the process again. Here's another one: the effects of artificial intelligence in education. Let's go around the room again. Everyone just shout out a keyword or related term, and we'll take a few minutes on that one. Wow. You guys are just amazing, incredible. You guys were able to get rid of the unnecessary words, leaving the keywords artificial intelligence and education. Then you guys came up with AI, large language models, LLMs, ChatGPT. And for education, you guys came up with the terms schools, classrooms, learning, and teachings. I could have never thought of that. I have no idea how you guys did it. Now, following that, let's do a little bit of a discussion and reflection. Reflect on the following. What strategies were most effective for generating keywords and related terms? What challenges did you encounter? What challenges might students encounter when researching for their junior paper? Finally, how can these strategies be incorporated into the classroom? So the same thing as before, we'll break up into groups of three. Just take a minute to think about these questions and then just share your thoughts. And then we'll just, you can raise your hand and you can just shout out any thoughts you have. Wow, that was a truly captivating discussion we just had. And, I think you guys are really getting it. You're really understanding this. So I think we can just move on to the conclusion today. What did we learn today? Number one, to construct effective keyword search queries, we need to use strong keywords. And two, keywords alone aren't enough. So we utilize synonyms and related terms to expand search results. Now, before next session, take a look at the supplemental practice worksheet online. I created a bit of a practice, kind of a repeat of the activity we did before, but I made it a little more challenging. And I also introduced a little stuff that'll get you ready for the next lesson. And now I just want to take the time. If any of you have questions, just feel free to ask me any questions you have. Wow, that was a lot of questions just now. Wow, you guys really think this through. Okay. Anyway, if that's the last question, if there are no further ones, thank you all for coming today. Next session, we'll get into Boolean operators. We'll get into more search strategies. It'll be super exciting. The most exhilarating hour and a half of your entire life. This session and all of the practice handouts, the slides, everything you need, it'll be available online. If any of your peers or colleagues missed this session, they can review it online. So thank you for coming. Goodbye.